Yeah.
All right, welcome to Witchpolice Radio. As the regular listeners to the show know, I try to keep it as diverse as I can on the show as far as musical genres. There's a lot of things I sort of fall back on as sort of regular styles of music I talk about. Lots of punk rock, lots of country, lots of hip hop, lots of jazz. But the guest on the show today is someone who is doing a style of music I haven't really delved too much into, definitely not on the show, and even not that much in my own listening as well. I'm interested in it, but it's not something I have a lot of knowledge about. So I have a lot of questions for you, and I think that the best way to start this off is if you would like to just introduce yourself and maybe give a bit of background about what you've been doing in Winnipeg over the last few decades.
Well, okay. My name is Rodrigo Munoz. I'm originally from Chile. I came to Canada in 1975.
Wow.
I was only 12, and then I studied at the university music for early 80s for about 4 years. And then around 89, I started actually my band that I still have, Papa Mambo.
That's a long time. It's a long time to be a band for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, I did go back to live in Santiago, Chile,
Okay.
for 8 years for a while. I mean, 8 years, so quite a while, from 1993, and then I came back to Winnipeg in 2001, and I picked up right where I left.
What is I guess what is to you the appeal of the Winnipeg music scene? Because like you said, you've been here, you've gone away, you've come back. What is it about this community here in Winnipeg that works for you as an artist?
Right. Yeah. So I'm just going to, of course, speak only for myself.
Sure.
Which is always best.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
and so for me, it works because it's the right size of place. It's not too small, because sometimes there are places that are quite small and there's not enough work, or not enough great people to work with.
Sure.
And there's problems, but also it's not so huge that there's a rat race going on. Like some I find that, and I've lived in some big centers like Santiago with like close to 7 million people, and I've been to Toronto many times, and great places, Montreal, great places, love them. But there you can see a little bit of the rat race there between musicians that kind of like really sort of grabbing onto each other, trying to get the spotlight.
Yeah.
And it's for me, it doesn't work. I'm for many people, obviously it does, but for me it doesn't. So the Winnipeg is the right size of city for me.
Cool. And well, I mean, I think that it's obviously worked out for you, because Papa Mambo is definitely a well-known name in Winnipeg. I mean, I started going to shows, probably just shows in general, in the mid 90s. And I remember I've seen your name on posters, so many times over the years. So you've obviously made an impact locally in the music scene here. When you started though, where did you sort of find, did you find a community within the larger music scene that suited your style? Because I mean, there's lots of genres in Winnipeg, but what you're doing is it's fairly a niche in a city like this, where there's certain styles of music that are popular, and you're doing something different.
Right. So are you asking me regarding community about musicians or the audience, or both?
Well, maybe both. Maybe both might be a good question.
Okay. Well, I'll talk about musicians first.
Sure.
I mean, musicians. There's musicians everywhere in the world. You go, you pick up a stone, you look under, and there's musicians. And you'll find great musicians everywhere. And if Winnipeg's no exception, there's a lot of great players here. We can go on. That's another theme about why there's some people say there's so many here. I think it well, anyway, let's not go into that. At first I started out with playing with my fellow students at the university. So they were all classical musicians, right?
Right. Yeah.
And great people. And back then, I didn't know how to write for pop music, so I would write out every single note, give the piano player these incredibly long charts, they needed like a thing for rolling it,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, uh, but eventually I was invited to play for this Latin jazz band, which is like kind of weird because and there were not non-Latin players, right? There were
Okay.
like
Okay.
people not Latin
Yeah.
players, but they really like the genre, the Latin jazz stuff, which is in my case, it's Afro-Cuban jazz, right?
Okay. Sure.
There's also, when you talk about Latin jazz, you can also talk about a Brazilian, which
Yeah.
they're related because they both have the Afro in them, but they're separate things. So I do the Afro-Cuban thing. Anyway, so they were doing things by Poncho Sanchez and Pete Scobito. Scobito, you might know.
It sounds
I know
familiar.
her.
Yeah.
Yeah. His daughter is very famous, Sheila E. Right?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
E stands for the Escobedo, right?
Right. Right.
Anyway, and so they invited me to play percussion, and then I saw these guys, and they were not classical musicians. A lot of them obviously had some classical training in their lives. Great musicians, and I, believe it or not, I kind of discovered Afro-Cuban jazz through them.
Oh, cool.
Which is kind of
it's kind of backwards what you would expect.
A little bit, yeah. I've had heard a little something before that, and I was before I met them, I had heard some stuff, and I was attracted to it, although I did not understand it.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I was invited, and then I played with them, and then I saw some musicians, and then shortly after that, I started forming my own band. I stole practically not all the musicians, but most of the musicians from that band, and then that formed the basis of Papa Mambo back then in 1989.
And you've persisted since 1989. You're still active, and you're still doing this. What has kind of kept you going over more than 30 years of playing in that project?
Right. Okay. So I do other types of music as well. Like I still play classical music. So people are, actually a bunch of people just know me as a classical guitarist,
Okay.
And then and sometimes they see me playing percussion and they like come up to me and say, what? Or the other way around anyway. But so that, which has helped me a lot because of to increment my income.
Sure. Yeah. You've multiple options of where you can play and who you can play for. Yeah.
And it's something that a lot of Winnipeg musicians do.
Definitely
play different genres, do this and that, because you gotta,
Yeah, you gotta be working. Yeah.
If you want to make a living. So anyway, so I kind of forgot what I was. What was your original question?
I forget now too. But my original question was the time you've been doing this. What keeps you going? What keeps you, I guess, motivated to continue doing this after a lot of artists would stop, after decades or so, especially with the same project, right?
Right. Yeah. I guess a lot of them are smart enough to stop at one point. I don't know. I just love it. I love the performing part.
Yeah.
I've always liked the stage, the attention, the clapping, I make no quibs about it. It's like, I know that some people, they tend to hide that part. It's like, oh no, I love music because of art and blah blah.
Right.
I just go, hey, I just like being on the stage. I like the attention.
Yeah.
And luckily for me, I have some musical talent, so that way I don't just.
That's important.
So that way I'm not just this fool on stage that tries to get attention, but can bring something to the table. So that's So that's what really keeps me going, the performance part of it. Although, there are other layers. Lately, I've been doing a lot of writing and
Okay.
arranging, and that keeps me going. As I'm getting older.
Yeah. Well, for sure. Yeah. And I guess like the fact that you are playing a very energetic style of music, it's got to help too, right? I mean, it's upbeat, it's active. I mean, the crowd's active, the crowd's dancing. That's got to help for the motivation to keep doing it. I'm sure is getting that kind of response and that kind of just energy, right?
Absolutely, yeah. We just played a gig at the Osborne Tap House
Okay.
on Saturday, and actually it was the first gig for the bigger band.
Right, because you have the two versions, right? You have the trio and then the larger.
Little trio, yeah. And with the trio, we've been playing through the pandemic, doing at first, I know when the pandemic first hit, we were doing a lot of online stuff,
Okay.
people hired to do online stuff, which is great. But like most musicians, we struggle at first for sure. And then and lately, of course, we've been playing live gigs, a lot of stuff for at hospitals too, because I have some connections there, so that
Okay.
helps. And then and now finally lately some sort of more regular gigs, and that was the one on Saturday was one of them, because
Okay.
we hadn't been in that type of like in a pub with a bigger band for 2 years, since
Yeah.
so that was very exciting. And then and we had one rehearsal, and the rehearsal didn't go very well. It was like so I was kind of scared, and then but I don't know, I guess we got on stage, and we did all right, and everybody was happy. So it was nice to be back on stage again.
Once you're back on stage, is it kind of like the muscle memory kicks in where you just start, you get right back into the mode even after 2 years?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. When you have the two different versions, I mean, the trio versus the bigger band, which is what, 8 to 10 people, I imagine.
Yeah, well, it always depends on how much money there is.
Right. Sure,
Right.
sure.
So
Yeah.
on Saturday we had a 6-piece. So we had 4 people in the rhythm section and vocals,
Yeah.
and we had two horns.
Okay.
But yeah, you're right. Usually the big band is a minimum of 8-piece. Minimum. Yeah.
When it comes to selecting songs for the different projects, is it a completely different sort of like use of your brain figuring out this is something that will work with the trio and this is something to work with the big band, or are there certain songs that will kind of float between the two?
Yeah, there's a lot of repertoire that we can actually do with the trio or with the bigger
Okay.
band. We managed to the trio has, when we first started, we were more limited because we
Less
didn't
people.
know. Yeah, so but eventually we found ways of sounding bigger, and like Victor Lopez on the electric guitar, or the Cuban Tres, which is a sort
Yeah.
of a Cuban guitar like. He's doing the horn lines on it, and Amber, she's playing the bass with the left hand on the
Okay.
keyboard,
Yeah.
and doing the chording or comping on with the right hand, and singing at the same time. And me, I'm playing like a percussion kit, where
Yeah.
I'm trying to do all the whole Afro-Cuban thing just by myself. So that has grown into a thing of itself, and so we are able to do a lot of the stuff with either band. But there are some stuff that we sort of like no, it's some stuff that you have a lot of horn.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's like, and then the guitar starts to play it, and he'll be able to play the line, but it's just
It's not the same, right?
no, the same. So some tunes, you're right. Some tunes just like no, stay on the one side. Yeah.
Do you have a preference? Like, at this point, are you happy to play in either one, or do you have one that you prefer to perform live with?
Well, it. I mean, if not really. I mean, they both have their charms. I
Sure.
mean, the big band is for you hear all the full horn section behind you, and that's when it's working. It's great.
Yeah.
but for that you need to be playing a lot, so that
Yeah.
and unfortunately, at least not yet. So so
Yeah, I guess the,
the
the three piece is more portable, right? I mean, the amount of venues you can play at is got to be a
absolute
lot larger with that setup.
absolutely. So because of that, because we don't play so much with the big band right now,
Yeah.
it doesn't sound as great. It sounds pretty good, in my opinion, but it doesn't sound as great because
Okay.
you need a band like that to be like constantly playing, and then after a month of everybody playing like 3 or 4 gigs a week, then it's like sounds like
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, but unfortunately, right now you can't do that. But
Not
the
yet, at least.
trio,
Hopefully that'll change, right?
hopefully it'll change
Yeah.
with the trio, because we're so much more compact. We're getting a lot more gigs, so we are playing all the time, so we're sounding really, really tight. So
Yeah.
right now I really enjoy the trio because of that.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
So in all this time with Papa Mambo, you haven't done a ton of recording, have you? You only have, I think, what, three albums out at this point?
that's right. Let's
So one
see.
every 10 years or so? Is that, is that
Yeah,
the math?
something like that. We done a few, I don't know what they call it, when single tunes, EPs or something like that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've done four
Four. Okay.
big productions,
Okay.
and a few other little EPs here and there.
Well,
And
I guess the reason I asked is, do you think of it more as a live band than a studio band? Like, would you? I imagine live is what you would consider to be the best setting for someone to experience what it is you do, right?
I, I don't. Yeah. I mean, that's what I want. I want to be on stage,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
But I like the recording session too, and you can really polish things up on a studio, and you
Yeah. Yeah.
get a really nice product out there. But I don't know.
It's
I like both things.
okay.
Or
Okay.
yeah, I
No,
think they're both
fair
important.
enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Do you have you seen as far as the local music community? Have you seen things kind of in the time you've been doing this sort of change where the styles of music you're playing have become more, whether popularity comes and goes, or if they become more something that other artists are following in your footsteps and trying to play this kind of stuff, or are you still fairly um, on your own out there doing what you do? Because I know there's lots of jazz artists, but
Hmm.
Afro-Cuban jazz is something very specific,
Right.
and I mean the same with the trio as well, right? What you're doing there is
Yeah.
very very specific as well.
Yeah. Uh, well, I mean, that's where the thing about that we were talking about before, being this a small place,
Yeah,
you're sort of kind of like a big fish in a small pond, which is great for us,
sure.
right? We get more gigs, and we're the only ones, which is not. We're not the only ones. There are a few other Latin bands out there,
Yeah,
but they haven't been able to get to that level where everybody knows them and they're playing gigs all the time. They haven't gotten that yet. So we're still the kind of like, when people think of Latin music, they think of us,
yeah,
and that's great for us. Um, but yeah, there's the when I first started the band, like back in 1989, the Latin community was much smaller
I
than it
bet.
is
Yeah, yeah,
than it is now. And then so at first, my audience was, it's never been really, but at first was never Latin people coming to my shows, because otherwise, and also if the immigrants, when they first arrive, they don't have they're not established yet
sure.
so
Yeah,
much, so that they don't have like just cash to go and spend on the pub and drink away all night, or go to expensive concerts, right?
yeah,
I mean, understandably, why.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it makes complete
Yeah,
sense. Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
So my audience was non-Latin, and still is for the most part. Although I've noticed over the years, in the last 20 years, that I'm seeing more and more Latin people
cool.
coming to my shows, because the more Latin people, and also some of the communities are more established now. Second generation.
Yeah, yeah,
So they have the cash to come and spend at shows and whatnot. Yeah.
Well, and you've had I guess the benefit too of introducing a lot of this stuff to the non-land community, who maybe in a city like Winnipeg wouldn't have had access to it 20 years ago or 10 years ago, that maybe they do now, because now they know what they're looking for when they're searching for music online or whatever, because they've heard you, or they've heard some of these other bands kind of get them started.
Yeah, I'll take credit for some of that for sure. Yeah, and of course then there's there's the internet.
Which you can find anything you want on there. So yeah, for sure. Well,
yeah.
Maybe that's a kind of a good question. Is the way the internet is now with music? I mean, I'm still a Luddite who listens to physical music. I still listen to CDs and tapes and records. I can't. I'm too set in my ways to switch over to Spotify and all that stuff. But the way music is consumed now is obviously very different than it was when you started out. How have you found kind of dealing with this brave new world of the internet, where you have to be constantly promoting yourself and interacting with everyone and putting everything online? Has that been an easy transition for you to go from the way it was before to the way it is now?
Right. Well, it's a sort of a 50-50 kind of. Some things are a lot easier, and some things are not as easy. It's like like you were saying, promoting yourself. You have to do things online and social media, what have you, like Twitter or
all of it,
Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever,
yeah.
So it is a bit tiring sometimes, when you're sitting in the keyboard and you go, okay, oh no, I got to put this on Instagram too, and so it is a bit tiring, but I'm able to do it. I'm not as good as some of the younger people who kind of
they're born into it.
They're born into it. You're right. Yeah. So it's but it's not hard. But it's definitely not. I'd rather not have to do it, but you have to do it. Yeah. And on the other hand, some things are much more easy. I mean, when I was back then and back in the mid 80s or late 80s, I was like churning out like photocopies of posters.
Yeah.
And I was out there myself with some friends, or like stapling posters on things,
in the middle of winter and all.
Yeah. So I did that for lots of years, and then so, and I mean, I guess some people, they still do that a bit, I guess posters will probably never go away, but
probably not, no.
But I definitely, social media is where I get a lot of people find out about, they go to my website or whatever different social media outlets. It's so much easier to spread the word that way. And also because back then I was much younger, so it's like no,
you got more energy for it, right?
Yeah, no problem.
Do you has it helped in terms of getting people to hear your music sort of outside of your main audience? I imagine because it's online, people can hear it really anywhere in the world, right? Have you seen that increase since things have sort of gone in this direction?
Yeah, there's always a bit of that for sure. The thing is that I'm doing all right working with the internet.
Yeah.
But like I said before, I'm not great at it. Some people are really great at it,
especially the people who grew up with it, right? Of course,
they excel at it, and then they're just like they're just very good at it, and I get along with it, but it's hard. But and also it's probably always been this way, that there's always different audiences for different genres. People. I mean, there's very few people who are sort of into a lot of things. Like you are into probably a lot of different types of music
based on doing this.
Right. Yeah, but the the norm. You're not the
Right.
norm.
Right.
Most people, especially when you're young, you sort of like have this band and this genre that you
Yeah.
go into it and you stick with it, and then there's another band or another, there's a different
Yeah.
crowd, there's sort of all these little pockets that they don't mingle too much with that.
I know what you mean. Yeah. Yeah.
There's especially when you're younger, you're sort of like you find your little group of people and you kind of stick with them and
Yeah. You stay there and
yeah,
don't leave it. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. As you get older, you're like, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. You
Let
pick
me
from
see
different
that.
piles and sort it out. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fun, I like it. Back then it was like, oh, you listen to disco. Oh, yes, disco.
For sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
you listen to that. It's like, oh, I listen to that. Now it's like, yeah, I like that song.
Yeah. You don't care anymore, right? You don't care about what the image is. You just like
but
what you like.
it's disco. So what? Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
I like it,
Yeah.
But that's when we get older,
For sure. Yeah. 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 Like I'm almost 40 and I'm at that point for sure where I like what I like and I don't care at all.
40, you're still very young, but yeah, you're not like a
not 20 or 18 or whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So what's the best way for people to hear you now? I mean, obviously the good thing about this being a podcast is people could hear it the week it comes out, or they could hear it, a year down the line. What's the best way to kind of keep in touch with what you're doing and find out about upcoming shows and things like that?
Right. So the best thing to do would be first to go to my website. It was very simple. Papa Mambo, one word, papamambo.com.
Cool.
That's my website. And then I have other stuff on social media, Instagram and Facebook and Twitter.
And you seem pretty easy to find on there. I mean, I found you right away. So yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. And then your albums that are out now, where's the best way to get those? I mean, are you mainly selling them on CD or digitally?
No, through my website. If people go to my website, there's a place where you can go see, and then they can find it on it used to be CD Baby, but CD Baby is no more.
That's gone.
They're still around, but they don't do the So it's all on the different like Apple Music and Amazon and
all the places people buy music these days.
So there's links on my website where you can just click and then it'll take you to
Awesome. Well, yeah, I'm glad you're still doing this. I mean, I definitely, I've seen you live a couple times over the years. Probably the first time would have been in the mid 90s maybe. And I mean, that's the fact that you're still doing this now is cool because I mean, like I said, I don't think a lot of people, especially on the local level too, stick with one project for as long as you have. So it's nice to hear that you're still actively doing this, and hopefully, once things clear up with the pandemic, you can start playing more shows and crowds will be more willing to go to shows and things like that. But it's nice to hear, and I hope to check you out live again sometime, because that, I mean, going to see live music is always great, and most of us have missed it for a long time now, but especially going to see something with that kind of energy, it definitely I think helps with the enjoyment, especially after a long time of just sitting at home and listening to music on headphones. Seeing something that kind of positive and upbeat is always nice. So pleasure talking to you.
Same here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.